How are you feeling after this week so far then, Stuart?
I find it's been the working week's been slightly different in terms of we just altered our days a little bit this week. Just sometimes changing that stimulus, the working days, the times, just to see if that changes anything within obviously the results. Most importantly, in terms of performance. We still feel that there was aspects of the game against Motherwell where we got it right, especially that point where it's 2-1 and you're well on top of the game. So yeah, just trying to see if we can get a little bit of change there in terms of preparation, what we'll look towards. We've obviously played Dundee United twice now. We've won both games, which has to be a positive in our head. That doesn't get you 3 points on Saturday. However, you're facing an opposition that you have come out on top of once in the cup game, once in the league, and from that again I believe you've got to try and draw on those positives and try and find that level of performance, but probably more importantly that level of concentration, I think, is the bit that I keep coming back to. So in terms of the players, they very much got together after the game again on Saturday and acknowledging the frailties and the aspects which are costing us. We do that as a team, but I think it's important to mention that the players have absolutely taken ownership for that and taken responsibility for that, and I believe that can take them out of what's been a poor run of form.
Can you give us an insight into any of the sort of tweaks or changes that you've made this week?
No, just I think it would be naive of me to say that we've not continued to focus on conceding goals. Very simply, I think when you look at it's a kind of tale of two halves, I suppose, for 7 games of the season, as it were, in the last 6 games, as it's been, and going from being a real goal threat, going from being pretty solid defensively as a team, to what we've seen over the last 6 games has been a dramatic change. There's no doubt in that, but I think it would be naive of me to say that we've not concentrated on those, what I was calling sort of flash moments in games of football. It wasn't sustained pressure from Motherwell at the weekend. You look at several of the other games, it's been those kind of flash circumstances, incidents where it's one cross into your box and you don't quite get yourself set right, maybe a rush of blood in terms of what your decision's going to be. So we've tried to mimic those situations, we've tried to recreate those situations as much as we possibly can. There can be an argument that you can overemphasise it, you can overthink about it, but I've always been a believer in practicing trying to practice your strengths to make sure that you can enhance that, but also if you're seeing something that you're struggling with, and at this minute in time we need to score more goals, we need to convert more chances, but fundamentally we need to stop conceding poor goals. So we've worked really hard on that, and we'll continue to Thursday and Friday to make sure that we get that right on Saturday.
You mentioned the 2 Dundee United games, probably the away game at Dundee United, the kind of best performance we'd seen from the team so far this season. You obviously try to harness positives. How much confidence should the players take from those occasions that they've shown they can go and do that and they can repeat that?
Well, I think there's a bit in it, but as I say, I'm not sitting here saying that then just guarantees that we turn up on Saturday. But absolutely, I think you've got to draw on some of those positives. I think you're right. I think it was the best performance. It was the best sustained performance. Throughout 90 minutes, I felt we were almost pitch perfect. We were on point. But I think it's important to say that there's been so many times this season that we've caught that level, but maybe not through 90 minutes of football, potentially 45, potentially for 60 minutes, and for me it's just trying to, it's not so much the level of performance, it's more that level of concentration. 2 victories we've had this season, one against St Mirren, one against Dundee United away from home. I felt it's been the best level of concentration, and I think you can see what your rewards can be off of that, and I think it's important that players realise that it can be a clean sheet and it can be a victory in a game of football. Those all sound very simple aspects to think about and talk about, but it's always, as I keep saying and have done for a couple of weeks now, it's in the doing, it's in the execution when the pressure's on.
Against Dundee United as well, they've also had a poor result last week. Do you see this as obviously 2 teams coming into this game in the back of 2 defeats of those last defeats? Do you think it's a big game for both clubs to try and prove a point?
Yeah, listen, it's been a big game for us the last 6. The first defeat that we had within that was when we were in a good place against Hearts, against a really good side that were flying. So that was a big game. So is this one. It's not going to change. We genuinely go out every single week to prepare and to try and win a game of football, irrespective of who we're playing, where we're playing. So I don't put any more emphasis on this one. But for me, it's about acknowledging that you have to change your run of form. It's as simple as that. You have to make sure that you start posting points, you start posting victories, and you become that wee bit more difficult to play against in stages of games of football, which will always give you a foundation to try and win a game.
And you did say about the players getting together after the Motherwell game, and that you do believe that you definitely have, or you're confident that there is a togetherness within the squad, that they can go and get that victory over the line after such a run previously?
Without a question, everybody's always going to ask that question when you're on a poor run or whatever, but I don't doubt the players for a second. They have 100%, they have my back and they have my confidence, and I feel that that's reciprocated as well. It's important to say that, but in terms of if we didn't have that personality and we didn't have that togetherness, then I don't think you'd see the reactions that we've had. Now, I don't want to be in a position where we're behind in a game of football and we're having to draw on that and calling it. We want to see that from the beginning of a game, without question. But I think what everybody's seen is, no matter what the situation's been, we've been a couple of goals down in games and we've seen a response. We've been 1 goal down against Aberdeen, completely dominated the second half of football with chances, possession and everything else. So I think everybody can see that's been there. And as I say, the second half reaction from them not being an awful lot in the first half, to be honest with you. I don't think there was enough situations for Motherwell to justify being a couple of goals up at the weekend, but they were. But we definitely seen a reaction from the players, and I think that justifies my comments that I feel that the players are very much together and they're doing everything they possibly can at this minute in time to try and get a result.
Any update on any of the injured players like Jamie Brandon and Kyle McKenna?
No, there's no update other than the fact that they're long-term injuries and that we don't expect anybody fresh to be back involved in the group. There'll not be a new option from last weekend, and like say Kyle and Jamie and Max and these types of guys, you're not going to see them again until the new year.
What's the issue for Kyle? Sorry.
Kyle's he's in an operation in his knee, so he's had a bit of clean out in his knee. He had a hamstring problem, he had a bit of an issue with his knee, so he's undergoing surgery, and like I say, you'll not see him until the new year.